IKUZO.
You mentioned continuity and how you look at continuity with obviously some stories fade away that don't click and some that click are timeless. We discussed continuity here with other guests such as Mara Wolfman and Dan Waters, and they had differing opinions. Do you find continuity something that, limits you, or is it all the same to you?
It can do both. I mean, there are times where you want to tell a story. I had this happen both ways in Squirrel Girl. There's a time where I wanted to tell a story with a certain character, and that character was dead. And so I can't do the story because the character is dead right now. So continuity says, no, think of something else. There were other times, there was a Squirrel Girl arc where I wanted to have her team up with Doctor Strange. And my editor...
sorry. Let me stop you. Who is the character? Because you can always relive them in comics.
Thanos was dead at the time. I didn't. It felt bad to bring him back and to kill him again, so it didn't fit. It didn't make sense.
Yeah.
But this other example, I wanted Squirrel Girl to team up with Doctor Strange, and my editor Will Moss said, "Just so you know, at this time, Doctor Strange is going to be Loki. Loki will be Sorcerer Supreme." And I was like, "That's so much better. Squirrel Girl's going to team up with Loki. Like, let's do that story instead." So their continuity was elevating what I wanted to do. And there's been times where it's neutral. There was one series where I wanted Squirrel Girl to beat up Captain America, and I got the note that by the time this book comes out, Captain America will have the super soldier serum sucked out of him and he'll just be an old man with no powers. And I was like, wow, Squirrel Girl beating up an old man with no powers feels kind of mean. And then I got the note that, even without his powers, Steve Rogers is a trained military man and peak physical conditions, 80 years old. I was like, fine, she'll beat him up. So she beat up an old man with no powers. That's sort of the neutral continuity path. So it can help, it can hinder, it can do sort of the middle. It depends on what you want to do. And as a writer, it sucks when a granted you have can't be used because a character is dead or in space. But the other side is sometimes it gives you some really great stuff you would never have thought of otherwise that lets you go in different directions. So it's a complicated beast, in my opinion.
Is Power Pack such a story because you wrote it as almost a tie-in to the Outlaw? Is that the name of the event in the Marvel?
Yes.
You wrote as a, complementary to that, what was happening in the universe at the time.
Yeah, that was sort of a neutral one where we wanted to do a Power Pack comic, and that gave us a nice excuse to do it. And it tied in. The event prompted the comic, but if you were not following the event, you could still pick up the Power Pack comic and understand what's happening, why we're doing this stuff, and take it from there.
Yeah, I didn't know about the event, but I read the comic. And, I didn't. But I just realized that it's connected to something.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of comics being accessible so that you can pick up a book and not be lost. And I'm glad in your case, that's how it worked, where you picked up a book and you didn't know the larger context, but you're like, well, I know what I need to know. I can still enjoy this. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And I'll tell you, the first comic I remember reading, I got a Wonder Woman comic in my stocking from Santa when I was a kid. And I was so excited because this is my first comic book. And it was like part 3 of 9. And I was completely lost the whole book. We didn't do recaps in those days. It was just like walking into a movie after it's been 45 minutes running and then leaving 5 minutes later and saying, wow, what was that? So I always try to ensure that if every comic is someone's first comic, and if you're picking out this comic cold, you're not lost. You can still enjoy this unit of story. Especially with Fantastic Four, we've been doing these shorter 1 or 2 issue comics where if it's a 1 issue story, you're good to go. We'll tell you who the Fantastic Four are on the intro page, and then please enjoy.
Yeah, that's the other side of the perspective regarding the continuity for fans, for readers, because the whole concept is that you tie, especially Marvel and DC are doing this. They connect all small stories into big crossover event that must happen once or twice a year, and there are a bunch of tie-ins that lead just to that story, and maybe somebody will pick that story, that comic book as his first one, and he will be completely lost. And that and even if you start reading from issue 1, from volume 1, it's leading to different story. And you like read the story without the end and similar stuff.
I mean, it's important to nail it, to like make sure that it works. And I feel like the industry is changing a bit in that. The past couple events that I've looked at, and we had Squirrel Girl tie into War of the Realms event at the time. And I felt like that worked well, where you could read Squirrel Girl on your own and not be lost through that journey.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're just reading War of the Realms, you could hop into Squirrel Girl and get the other part of the story. Like I think that's the dragon we're all chasing. We want it to be that seamless and that natural and that clicking together. And the bad version where you describe where it feels like your book suddenly changes its focus for 3 issues, or you don't understand why this is happening. And I feel like in the past we expected, fans will just have to go out and buy 10 more comics if they want to understand. And now it's more like, well, let's respect the fan and be like, if you're just reading this book, you can continue just reading this book. But if you want more, it's there for you.
Yeah. I mean, when I read the last crossover that I read was Devon Ray, and you could read it completely fine without even Daredevil storyline by Chip Zdarsky or anything. And before that, I read The Judgment Day, which is Avengers, X-Men, Eternals crossover. And if you didn't read anything that happened before that, you were completely out of place, especially regarding millions of details that you do not understand.
We stay genuine, uncensored and unscripted, and we always will, as we have to order our usual. Share us and subscribe us, and stay tuned until the next Wednesday. IKUZO!